this evening. Welcome everyone to our event this evening, appropriately right after the national holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a panel discussion among leaders from our larger community around the topics of hate, love, understanding, our responsibility to each other, and how hate directed at any one group affects all people within the context of schools and our communities. This work of seeing, hearing, valuing each other for all our enriching differences is a collective responsibility from classroom tables to kitchen tables. The importance of this effort was horribly underscored this weekend when a gunman took hostages at a synagogue in Texas. The FBI is investigating this as a terrorism-related matter in which the Jewish community was targeted. Our conversation this evening, conversations that gathered together different faiths to help educate us all, are so timely and relevant. Hearts hurt over this hate. Joining us in the audience are Evesham Township School District staff and families, and members of the faith communities of Temple Emanuel, Al-Nasr Mosque, Christ the Redeemer Parish, and India Temple Association. For anyone unfamiliar with what occurred, in December, swastikas and anti-Semitic writing were found in boys' bathroom stalls at one of our middle schools. Intolerance of any kind is completely unacceptable. What hurts any group hurts us all. As superintendent of our district, I am grateful to the Jewish Community Relations Council of Southern New Jersey and Helen Kirschbaum, the director of their Rob Goodwin Holocaust Education Center, for their work to make this evening's discussion possible. And I am grateful to our panelists for their time and commitment. Our 6 panelists are our Congressman Andy Kim, Evesham Mayor Jackie Veasy, Rabbi Jerry David of Temple Emanuel, Imam Waqas Khurshid of Al-Nasr Mosque, Father Joe Wallace of Christ the Redeemer Parish, and Priest Sudhir of India Temple Association. I, Justin Smith, the moderator. I will ask questions to foster discussion among the panel. The panel discussion will go for roughly 30 to 40 minutes, followed by 15 minutes for Q&A, and ending around 8 p.m. For our audience, if you would like to submit a question for the question and answer portion at the end, please use the Q&A box. Let's get started. For our panelists, please know that the most important people here are our students. So please feel free, if you like, to speak specifically to the students in your responses. Why is being part of this evening's conversation so important to you? While I will not call on each panelist for every question, for this first question, I think it is important for every panelist to speak. Why is being part of this evening's conversation so important to you? Rabbi David, would you mind speaking first?
No, thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you for serving as our moderator tonight. And thank you for your opening, very heartfelt message. We have come together tonight because of a hateful attack against one of us. But in fact, an attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. Hate is our shared problem. One of my students, one of my kids, since I knew this student from the time he was an idea, is the student who discovered the swastika. And I give him so much credit because he had the courage to come forward and stand up and call it out. For me, anti-Semitism, it's not a talking point. It's not a topic like other topics. It's very personal for me. I want to share with you that my parents of blessed memory were Holocaust survivors. I can remember that when I was just about 5 years old, I asked my mother, why don't I have grandparents like my friends? And my mother said to me, They died before you were born. Actually, she went on to say, they were killed. They were murdered. They were murdered? Where are they buried? I mean, why aren't they buried? These are very tough questions for a kid to be asking. My inheritance truly are the names I carry with me, the names of my grandparents. I vowed very early on to live my life fully, but also to go on for them. And my decision to become a rabbi, to a great extent, was based on my wanting to honor my grandparents, who I never knew. And as you mentioned, Dr. Smith, we are still reeling from the assault in Colleyville, Texas. And for 11 terrifying hours, Rabbi Charlie Walker, 3 members of his congregation were held hostage at gunpoint. And make no mistake, the Jewish community was targeted. It is our worst nightmare. And all too often, it is real. It is real. I just wanted to add that to understand fully the impact of this assault, of this violation, one has to understand, as I know you will very much understand, that the Sabbath, Shabbat, it's a holy time of prayer, of meditation, of reflection, of thanksgiving. And the synagogue is our sanctuary, which means our safe place. You go to the sanctuary so no one will hurt you. And tragically, nothing of this is new. So over the last 5 years, anti-Semitic incidents and violence against many minority groups has exploded, truly exploded. However, in conclusion, we are the solution. We are all of us. And especially I'm talking to the students listening to us now. You are the solution. And every one of us can make a difference. And I know we will. I know we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi David. Hard to know who to call on next, but let's go, Father Wallace. Would you care to speak?
Sure, I'd be happy and honored. You asked why it's important to be here this evening, to be on this panel. And any opportunity that I have as a Christian, as a Catholic, as a priest, to be able to share one of the fundamental teachings of Christianity is the very antithesis of hatred, and that is love. And we draw upon really the treasure trove of spirituality from Judaism as Christians. And it was an aspect of Judaism to love one's neighbor, to care for orphans and widows and all of that. So we as Christians have taken on that mantle of love. Jesus even went so far as to say that Christians even have to love their enemies, which is perhaps one of the greatest challenges of Christianity, or really any religion, I believe. But I did my homework for the students, because you guys probably, this might be part of your homework. I did my homework since I was asked to be on this panel, just to see some of the official teachings of the Catholic Church as regards such thing as hatred, prejudice, racism, anti-Semitism, any manifestation of hatred at all. And it's easy to say because Catholics are often known for our mortal sins, and hatred, prejudice, racism, sexism, they are now taught to be mortal sins, which are the worst kind of sins, right? Because why? They degrade another human being. They do harm to the body, soul, and spirit of another human being. And in essence, in Christianity, we are taught that all human beings are equal, that all of us are precious in the eyes of God, and that all of us are his children. So we are called to treat one another in that fashion, in a loving way, as a brother or a sister. As I said, I have all these documents that I looked up, and they come to us from the Universal Church, different teachings, official teachings of the popes, but also of our Catholic bishops here in the United States that have been very clear in their teaching against any act or word or manifestation of prejudice, hatred, evil, violence, sexism, everything. It's all of those are tentacles really of hatred, and all of them are condemned and should be by all of us. And I'm also happy to be on this panel, to be with such esteemed members of other religious bodies, that all of us, hand in hand, condemn hatred. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Wallace. For our next panelist, Imam Khurshid, would you care to speak?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be on everybody listening to this. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for organizing this and inviting me to be part of this very esteemed panel. My name is Waqas Khurshid, and I'm currently a missionary serving at the Al-Nasr Mosque. And the question that was posed to me initially was of two parts. The first one being, how has hate touched me personally? Now, maybe in sharing that, we can understand that hate touches everybody. Now, me, myself, I'm part of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, which is currently lawfully being persecuted in my motherland of Pakistan. And I'm seeking religious freedom. My parents, as well as other members of the community, moved to other countries. Now, as you can imagine, post-2001, it was not all rainbows and butterflies for Muslims in America. I myself grew up in a small rural town of Canada, and I experienced few, but not many incidents of intolerance and racism. However, growing up and going to school, I knew that I was different. And these incidents only happened to me specifically because I was different skin color, different religion, I talk different, or wore all these different things. I was very standout different. Also, it's just guys making edgy jokes. Guys just want to get a laugh out of everyone else at the expense of maybe one guy. And maybe I'd laugh along, but it would to some extent hurt a bit, at least. However, what I do remember the most is after that. It was those people who came up to me quietly or just afterwards that, yeah, that wasn't cool. Or talked to me and just treated me like a normal, just one of them, which most people did, I must say. So that is what really touched me the most. And that is what, if I could speak to the students, speak to, the ones who are going through this, who are growing up in the society, that is who you can be. You can be that one person that, decades later, I still remember, not even that long, but, quite a bit later, I remember that it was those particular people that really had my back, that no matter if other people were saying stuff, most of the people are all right. Now, the second part of the question was, why is it important for me to be here today? It's because I understood that those people who were making those jokes, it wasn't because they actually hated me. They actually didn't have hatred towards me or were racist in any way, or they weren't born that way, or maybe it was just taught to them. That is why they said those things that they did. Now, what's the best way to combat that? If they don't know, why don't I teach them? So I dedicated my life to being a person who teaches people about my religion, about where I come from, about my people, and show them that what you think, or you think that you think about my religion, or you think you know about my religion, isn't actually what I practice. So this is a very commendable thing that the Jewish community is doing in responding to evil with this type of forum. And again, as Father said, that, you know, looking at the scripture, my scripture says this: good and evil are not alike. Repel evil with that which is best. This is the epitome of repelling evil with goodness. And later on it says that he between whom and thyself was enmity will become as though he were a warm friend. The only way to reconcile with those people who have these notions about you, or the person beside you who's slightly different, is to repel them with goodness, with education, with love. And then you will become warm friends later on down the road. In the end, I just like to end with a prayer that the worldwide leader of the Ahmadi Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, said when he addressed a crowd in Hamburg, Germany in 2012. He said, "It is my prayer that Germany, and indeed every country that has become a home to people of different nationalities and cultures, display the highest standards of tolerance and respect for each other's feelings and sentiments. In this way, may they become the standard bearers for those who display mutual love, affection, and peace." I also pray that God allow us to become dear friends with everybody in our communities. And as we are repelling evil with that which is best, we become warm friends with everyone around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. And would it be fair to say, when those students came up to you afterwards and said those words, even the smallest positive expression that they made to you could last your entire lifetime?
Yep,
in a good
even
way.
as much as me sharing that this happened to me and they said, "Oh, that wasn't very nice," even that much validates that, you know, yeah, I am normal, I have feelings, all that stuff.
Thank you. Priest Shah, would you care to speak next?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Smith, to giving me an opportunity for this evening. First, Honorable Congressman and our Mayor Veasy and Dr. Smith and organizer. Why it is important I'm here today or this evening. As a Hindu priest, I would like to say about the swastika. Swastika has two contests. One, it is the Eastern, and one, it is the Western contest. So we are here. I understand that someone, they use this reverse swastika sign to fulfill their own some political agenda. And that's why this reverse swastika, it became as a, shameful. But if you look in the Eastern swastika, Su means the well, Su means auspicious, and Asti means it is or there is. And this word, it is from the Rig Veda. Rig Veda, it is the oldest scripture in this world. So as a Hindu priest, when I understand what is the history of in the Germany, and when I see the misuse of this word, so it is just an example for me. If I look the word meaning in the dictionary of the donor, and the dictionary says the word meaning of the donor is the robber, right? So it's just like opposite. So Easter, if you go, I believe that in the 19th century, some German scholars like Max Muller, Weber, and others, they went to India and they brought these scriptures to the German. And in the Germany, in their political history was there, and someone used, and some party they use, I don't want to tell any name or any person name, and they use this word in their bad way. So as a Hindu priest in South Jersey, Southern New Jersey, we all Hindus stand with you. We all Hindus never justify this kind of the significant, this kind of the activity in the school, especially. You know, our students, they are the beautiful flowers in this community. These are beautiful flowers. My daughter, I have two daughters. One daughter is in grade 4, right? She goes to school. Here in this country, very good people, very good, this environment are here. But hate, I can say it is the part of the human nature, but all here religious leaders are here. Our scriptures teach us how to solve this problem of this hate. So, Father, Rabbi, Imam, all these leaders are very important, and they can play very important role in this South Jersey. So I would like to request all students this evening, our scriptures or any religion has no place of the hate. Or in the other word, I can say, no any religion can sustain on the base of the hate. Right? So these are very important. You are religious or non-religious, doesn't matter. But love, faith, you know, allegiance to this community, to this, to your society, to this nation, right? It is our duty to show. Yeah, it is not our duty to show our hate, right? So thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you, Dr. Veasy, sorry, Mayor Veasy. And next question.
Thank you, Priest Shah. There's so many things going through my head, but I want to hear from you, but just, I feel like I speak for the entire audience when we are all engaged in conversation with everyone on the panel tonight in our own minds as we listen. And I thank you all as we go along for everything you're saying that is spurring those conversations internally for all of us. Mayor Veasy, would you care to go next?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you to all the panelists for sharing those words with us. It's very encouraging to hear from everyone, and it's nice to hear the different voices that we're all saying the same thing with different backgrounds, and that's what makes us one as a community, and that's the important part. But I just want to say, as the leader of Evesham, as the mayor, anytime that I see anything come through my desk that shows any type of hate, I've committed that I'm going to be the forefront and speaking against it. I do not condone any hate against any person, because like Rabbi David said, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. We are a community of 50,000 people, and my message to everyone is always to take care of your neighbors. We need to be kind as a community. We can't sustain each other by ourselves. We do not act independently. We need to rely on each other to be a good community. So whether it's through our schools, our government, our churches, that's what makes us strong. So the stronger we are, and we learn from each other and grow from each other, and having conversations like this are just so important for making us a stronger community. So I thank everyone for sharing their perspective. One thing that I always say to the kids when I talk to them, or the students, when I talk to them at LEAD graduations where they learn, you know, to stay drug-free, is that we are all leaders. We have that all in us. Every decision that we make every day is a way to be a leader. And whether it's being nice to someone, just with a kind word after seeing something bad happen, or reporting, seeing, drawings on the wall in school and knowing that you're pointing that out, or just being kind to another person makes you a leader. And every time you do that, you set an example for your friends, you set an example for your family, you set an example for the entire community. So I just encourage all students to just be leaders, whatever your heart leads you to be a strong leader, be a leader to your community, be a leader for all of us, because you are our future here in Evesham and you make us strong. And like Priest Josh said, they are the flowers of our community. When you talk to the kids and you can smile and just see the joy in all of their faces, we just need to remember that joy as we continue to grow and not let the outside hatred that comes in to affect us, and protect each other and make us stronger. So my message is always to just be a good neighbor and take care of each other. And that's what makes us the best community here in South Jersey. Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mayor Veasy. And is Congressman Kim there? And he has an interest. I wonder if you still have your backdrop that you had earlier, but would you care to round us out?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks everyone for giving me a chance to be able to be here with you, especially to the students. I want to just say, we're here for you. The reason why I'm here is because we're part of the same community. And that community is what gives us the ability to be able to fight back against this hate. Hate tries to divide. Hate tries to separate us. And it's our ability to be able to come together and recognize our shared humanity that allows us to be able to overcome that. Sure, it's going to be hard and there's going to be a lot of hurt along the way. But, for me, I'm very much one that believes in the strength of our community. I grew up in Marlton. It's where I'm from. I'm a King's grandkid. I learned to play soccer on those fields of Marlton Middle School. And, this is my home. And it's the community that raised me and where I went to school. So when I saw that, that hatred carving itself upon our community, it hurt in a very personal way, but it also hurt to know that that type of hatred and that type of division is trying to foment us and trying to divide us. So it's so important that we come together. I'm also here because we need to make sure that we stand up against hate in all forms. And we need to be there for each other in our times of need. Being an Asian American growing up in this community, I've had some tough times too. And now I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And, last year, my 6-year-old came back from school and told me that, bigger kid kept calling him Chinese boy over and over again. And he was too little to really understand what was happening, but he knew that it was something that wasn't right. And, for me as a father, I have to tell you, it really hurt. I wish I had the right words to tell him what that meant and why he should not pay attention or listen to that. But, I, as a father, was not prepared for that moment. And I lacked the words to be able to talk to my son. And I lack the words right now to heal all the anxiety that people face. None of us here are going to have the perfect words that'll make us feel completely safe. But what we recognize is that when we have each other's backs and we know that we're not alone, and that's what we're strong on. So I told my son that he's not alone. And whatever these types of things happen, whether it's words or violence or what, we will be there for him as we will be there for others. And to make sure that we as well don't just look out for the violence and the hate that targets people that look like us, but we got to make sure we're focused on it writ large. And the last reason I'm here is because it's not just voluntary. It's not just something that we do because it makes us feel good that we stand up for each other. It is literally our responsibility to look out for each other. And right now, I'm here right now on this bench in the United States Capitol because I was able to go and vote just now, and I chose to sit here in the rotunda of the United States. And it's so beautiful here. And I'll tell you, this is a building that literally has people coming from all over the country. Every corner of our country is represented right here in this building. And it is that unity. It is that coming together that gives us our strength. Yes, we have disagreements. Yes, we come from different backgrounds and different experiences. But the moment that we stop recognizing each other's humanity and stop recognizing each other's grace, that's when we lose that which makes us strongest. So I just ask people to just keep that in mind. And I'll certainly make sure that I do everything I humanly can as a political leader in this community, as a member of Congress, to try to keep us safe, because you deserve that. And you deserve to be it, just in the same way that Rabbi David talked about how the synagogue is a sanctuary. Our schools are that sanctuary, and you should be able to be there learning safe from that kind of hate. And it pains me to know that you were let down, but we will make sure that we continue to work together to try to make sure you have every opportunity to thrive. So thank you so very much for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you, Congressman Kim. And if you don't mind, I'm going to stay with you as our first respondent to our next question, partly also because you may not be able to stay through the full Zoom meeting tonight for the Q&A. And if that occurs, I'll just say thank you now for participating tonight and for your words. If we can go back to the story you shared about your son, right? Where does that, if we call that hate, where does that come from? Where does hate come from? Whether it's through the words of a young child or from many other sources that where we encounter it, but where does it come from, and how do we, how does it affect people of all religions and ethnicities?
Well, look, there isn't just one source of hate, but one place that it feeds off of is about this effort that so often happens in our community, where people try to see other people as the other. They try to think about that separation. When you start looking at another person as someone different than you and the other, that's what allows you to demean them. That's what allows you to potentially hurt them, is because you don't see that commonality. And I think that that's a big problem that we face right now. We as a society right now, we're fracturing. We're dividing along different lines, whether those are political lines or religious lines or other places like that. And we see this tribalism happening in our country that then pits communities against each other. And then there's a fomenting of this feeling that like it's zero sum, that what one community has, the other doesn't. And we're losing touch with that common good, that commonality between us all. So it's that otherization that gives that permission structure to people to be able to push someone away and potentially hurt them. It isn't always one where I think we're aware of it sometimes, and not every form of hate comes in the form of a swastika or something else that so clearly and visibly that draws that type of line. So that's why it's important for us to pay attention, but it's also important for us to listen to each other and to be able to understand what it is that we might be saying or doing that might make someone else feel uncomfortable or might make them feel unwanted in a community. But to use words that many of the others talked about, it's the love that can overcome that, and it's our ability to have that community that overcomes that. And and I hope what I will just end on is saying, look, right now, we're struggling with this as a country and as a community. I feel like there's this addiction to anger in our country right now in so many different ways, and I can feel just that visceralness of just how much things are moving in a direction that I worry about, in terms of raising my kids in this moment in time. So I really hope that we really try to heed that understanding and recognize that we need to figure out how to take this temperature down and start to recognize that commonality between us all. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can, Rabbi David, I'm thinking about something you said in your initial remarks and about the student, Ben, who you've known when he was still an idea, and that he spoke up. He was an upstander. What are the long-term, in your view, what are the long-term consequences of ignoring hate or looking the other way? And what can students do to combat hate and to increase understanding and acceptance?
I first just wanted to begin, what came to mind when Congressman Kim was talking was the words of the late Elie Wiesel. And he said that the opposite of love is not hate. It's actually indifference. And the student who saw that swastika, he decided to come forward, but I wonder, without casting any kind of dispersion, how many students actually saw that and were pretty indifferent about it. What develops from hate, eventually hate will lead to violence. And we've seen that. So we have to take steps to address hate before it becomes violent. And we haven't always done a great job about that. So I actually, the ADL, which is the Anti-Defamation League, it's an organization that actually has been around for over 100 years. It was started in 1912. And basically, it has been battling hate for over 100 years. And not just hate against the Jewish people, but all people. And I found it very worthwhile, and I'd like to address this to our many students, that something you can do. This is very practical. These are responses to hate. And there are 3 steps. One is speak up. And I'll explain that just very, very briefly. One is share facts, and one is show strength. And by speak up, that's the first step. When you see something, you have to say something. And it could be very uncomfortable, and you might be the only one willing to do that. Share facts. It means grounding your response in evidence and data. And I'll tell a very short story about that in a moment. And show strength. For all of our teens watching, it's difficult to be a teen. And the message is you have to believe in yourself. You have to like yourself. You have to trust in your capabilities. You have to believe that there is nothing in this world that you cannot accomplish. And once you have that inner strength, then you have to stand as an ally for anyone else who might be targeted for hate. Stand with them. Be with them. Even that one kind word. So about sharing facts, I'll make this very brief. We're at a restaurant, having a nice night out, 2 couples. At the next table, there were many women who had just come from, I think it was like a church study group. And they were chatting and talking, but I couldn't help but overhear some of the things they were saying. And what they were saying were really a distortion of a lot of facts that I knew were just not true. But, you know, I'm there to enjoy the evening. I couldn't stand it anymore. So I apologized to everyone at our table. And I said, do you mind if I go over there? And they said, no, please do. And I went over there, and there were about 10 women. I said, well intended, I'm sure. I said, would you mind if I pull up a chair next to you? They said, that would be great. You know, so I did. And basically I said, I have to share with you that I happen to be of the Jewish faith. And I have to tell you, so much of what you were saying is just not valid, has no basis. And I tried to give a little bit of a background. And they listened. And they said, thank you, that maybe you'll come to our study group. That was very helpful. And I I use that as an example because, you know, where you can sort of redirect someone's false thinking and they're open to that, you can make great inroads. But you have to know your facts.
Thank you, Rabbi David. Imam Khurshid, just building on that a bit, what are some challenges that you see facing the students of today as they look to increase understanding and acceptance among themselves, in their schools, in their communities? And what encouragement could you offer them?
Some challenges, I think somebody mentioned it in another question as well, that increased diversity, that don't make these kind of conversations just something that somebody on Zoom said, something that you might read in a textbook, that, you know, we're a multicultural society, whatever. Okay, but everyone around me is the same culture and religion as me, so that doesn't mean anything. You know, you see in the news that, okay, people in some other country are doing something, so that's what this culture is about. No, increase them learning about it from peers, from people going to them and actually talking to them, a human connection. This is something that I started doing. And you said some encouragement. I'll give more than encouragement. I'll give a practical solution. That this is something that I started doing like in my old high school, where I talked to the world religions class. I had presentations and various other teachers, some teachers with kids as young as like in the grade, I think 6 or 7, would call me in and say, teach us about your faith. So that from that age, they don't have a bad notion or the, you know, the wrong idea of what a Muslim is. So I would say, let's do that. And I offer myself as, you know, to superintendent, to mayor, to anybody, congressman, that call me. I have absolutely nothing better to do in the world than talk to people about why what you might think about my religion isn't actually who I am. Come to our mosque, even better. I know a good pizza place down the road, all order pizza for everyone. See who we are. See how we actually live. And this isn't just for, I mean, I'm offering myself, but for all religions and all cultures, talk to them. You know, I grew up in a society that I was different in, but because I played soccer with them, I played hockey with them, I played basketball with them, you know, I did everything with them. They knew me as a normal kid. So otherwise they wouldn't have seen that, I feel. So because of that, it was that like I said, that diversity really does help.
And through that talking really gets back to what Rabbi David was saying about it becomes getting to know each other as a way of learning facts about each other, you know, and learning who we are, truly are, not through others, but through a firsthand experience ourselves. Mayor Veasy, how can our larger community, schools, faith communities, organizations, parents, individuals, how can our larger community help students in this work? And what would we as a district, as a community, need to be mindful of along the way?
So to be stronger as a community and really to acknowledge each other is just to, going off of what everybody said, is to learn from each other. And I use this analogy at our Cultural Day Festival that we had this year, that when you look at us as a community, look at us as a salad bowl and not as a melting pot where we all mix together, but we all have unique characteristics and we all have unique backgrounds that we bring to the table. So when you look at a salad bowl as opposed to soup, you look at each individual part of the salad, which makes up one big community. So I think what we need to continue to do is just to continue to educate each other and about all of our differences, our backgrounds, so that we can support each other to be as one. And it comes from more diversity and inclusion in all of the levels of leadership for not just ourselves, but in the school district, and seeing when students get to see different people in leadership roles, they can imagine themselves that way. And by having that shared vision of a community where you see your leadership, your police force, your teachers, and they look like you and they are like you, and you can learn from each other that way, then you're able to bring diversity to them and teach each other from their own experiences. So you're not so the students don't feel different. And that way, the more diversity we have as a community, the stronger we are, and we make that salad taste better, So what I say as a community, and it's something that we've done on the township level with the police force and having a diversity supervisor for recruitment, just trying to bring more of diversity into our community, into our leadership, then they'll be able to have a stronger group as a whole. So I'll try to keep it short so we can get some more questions in before the end of our session.
Thank you, Mayor Veasy. Priest Ja, if you wouldn't mind speaking a bit to that same question, just, folks may not know, you work across multiple communities here in Evesham, also in Berlin. And what do you see as roles that larger communities can play in helping students, do the work of increasing understanding, acceptance?
Yes, sir. So here for the students, it is a very good idea to what way we can teach them. So in school, they play their own role in their own way, but communities from the different community, they can play also very important role. Just like I can give you the example for weekend school or Sunday school. So many churches or mosque or temple, they run the Sunday school. So in that kind of thing, the teachers or their community leaders, they can teach them how we can adapt each other. Not adapt means understand each other. I can give you one example. One of my daughter's friend, she came to our house, and when we presented the Diwali presentation, she said, "Oh my God, I love the Diwali, the festival of light," right? And she was not the Indian, she was not Hindu, right? She was from different faith, different religion. So just like that, my daughter also, she goes to her house and she understands, she try to understand, right? So we never hate each other, we love each other. So in that way, if the students, especially students in the Sunday school and in the community, just try to go in the different faith, different religious churches, different religious institutions, right? So then they can understand better. And as the Imam Waqas said, do not just trust just one-line scripture. Try to understand those scriptures from the official people, from the priest, from the Imam, from the father, from the Rabbi. They can properly tell you the meaning of that scriptures. You cannot learn by yourself the scriptures. Scriptures are very, very in the formula method. The explanation, you can get it from the religious leaders. So in that way, we can make better understanding in the community and to the students. I think so.
Thank you very much. Again, still having that internal conversation with all of you based on what you're saying and different themes that start emerging. We're based on time. We're going to go to our last question now. Thank you, Priest Ja, for those words there. We're going to go to our last question. And Father Wallace, you're going to start with you on the last question. So if there is, it's like a little bit like a lesson, where you end with a summarizer. If there is one most important thing you hope people today in the audience do as a result of our conversation, what would it be? And then we'll go to each person in turn.
Was muted. Can you hear me? As I was thinking and listening to the other panelists, one of the the ingredients, shall we say, of hatred, or hatred feeds on two things: ignorance and lies. So I think that it's important for our students to be open to learning about other peoples, their cultures, their religion. The more that we learn about one another, the more that we learn the similarities rather than the differences. And that we should never listen to the lies that others may tell us about an individual or a group, nor should we ever keep silent. We should always champion one another's causes in love.
Thank you, Father Wallace. Is Congressman Kim still with us, or is he? I don't. Looks like he's not with us anymore. So we'll go to. He'll leave. Okay, we'll go to Mayor Veasy, if you would care to speak.
Yes, thank you so much again for having me join you today. The one important thing that I would like to share with everyone to take away from this is that, as we've all said, we need to learn more about each other to be able to understand and be a community with each other. So I would like for us to continue these conversations outside of this one Zoom so that we can continue to educate ourselves and our community about each other. And I look forward to future discussions. And I just want everyone to remember to be kind to your neighbors. Everyone has different backgrounds, comes from different histories. They all have different things that they can bring to the table. So let's make sure that we are always being open to each other and not resorting to any type of vandalism or violence to try to express frustrations when really we should be sharing and having communication and talking. So I look forward to future conversations and getting out into the community more and talking with everyone about each other so we can continue to learn from each other.
Thank you, Mayor Veasy. And Priest Shah, would you like to share?
Yes, sir. So final conclusion is in this community, what happened at that school, right? So I pray to the God it will never happen again. And we know, and the Congressman said that, and Father Rabbi David also said that the hate led us to the violence, to the crime, right? So interfaith understanding also is the good idea, but we can see so many times attacks on the churches also, right? So, or violence in the churches also. So we never justify this kind of act. And if South Jersey Jewish community, if they need any kind of support from us, as I said earlier, we all Southern New Jersey Hindus, we stand with you. And just let us know if you need any support from us. And thank you for Dr. Smith and Mayor Veasy to give me an opportunity this evening.
Thank you, Priest Shah. And Imam Khurshid, would you like to share?
Final words would just be to not come to any preconceived notions about somebody without talking or learning about them first. We live in such a time and such a country that being ignorant about somebody else is all your fault. There's so many different people around you, even behind the superintendent right there, there's all the different flags, and I'm sure all those different communities are represented in South Jersey. So if you don't know somebody, we have the internet. You can easily look something up, and don't look something up on why these people are bad. Look something up from their perspective. And if you can't find something, again, that will be our fault. In this day and age, living where we do, please reach out to somebody who you don't know much about and learn about them. And then you can come to your conclusion of okay, whatever. But those are my final words. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rabbi David, this is the official last words of the panel before the Q&A.
I wanted to say something before my official last word. It's just that the obvious that everyone looking at our panel, it speaks for itself. That's the message. We're the message that we represent different faith communities or our community, and we all get along. And more than that, we all respect one another. And I think that visual goes a long way. I wanted to actually conclude with a Jewish story, parable. It is told of Rabbi Hillel, who lived 2,000 years ago, very learned, that a non-believer approached him, really mocking him, and said, you know, oh, great Rabbi, I would like you to recite the entire Torah, the 5 books of Moses, while you stand on one foot. So it wasn't that he had such a great sense of balance. He tried to stand on one foot for long enough to say the following: what is hateful to you, do not do unto others. That is the entire Torah. What is hateful to you, do not do unto others. The rest of the Torah is commentary. And now go out and learn it. And I think, you know, basically for teachers, you know, what do you want your kids to know? You know, when it's all said, and there's a lot of information that a kid, you know, has to bring in daily, but it has to begin with the message of respecting one another. Respecting one another. You don't have to agree all the time, but mutual respect, which can lead to love.
Impossible to follow that, but we'll have to go to, I'm very curious what questions may have been submitted. So I can't see them, but, oh, here we are, there we go. So we go down. Here's one. COVID has distanced us from one another. As its grip loosens, what steps can be taken to enable diverse community members to literally see one another within a positive space and context? In other words, can community infrastructure, such as the Black Run Preserve or the baseball stadium, be used to promote positive social activities among diverse peoples?
Dr. Smith, would you like me to answer this one?
I think that would be great, Mayor Veasy.
Okay. So as COVID does hopefully move through the community and it becomes spring and summer again, I hope that we continue to have the community events that we have been able to have. Last year, we had an AAPI festival, a cultural festival, Juneteenth celebration, and I hope that we can continue to have those public events as well as more. I'm always looking to have more to get us together in a safe way so that we can celebrate each other. So we did do them on some of our larger fields, but we could use other facilities for that. We are blessed here in Evesham to have very nice facilities to use. So I will look into that and spread the word through our different community boards that we have. We have several advisory boards to the council and work with them to set up some additional events to share our diversity here in Evesham.
think I'm going to read a couple questions just to get those voices in. And it's 8 o'clock right now, so for time, we may not get to answers, but I think it's important to bring those voices in. So, one question here: I believe that increasing diversity among school staff, community leaders, and law enforcement would help eliminate some of the hatred. And this echoes something you said earlier, Mayor Veasy, in terms of the importance of that. What is ETSD in particular doing to help the students to experience a more diverse teaching and leadership staff? I understand that equal representation may not be completely possible, but my hope is that there is an effort being made for a more diverse teaching staff, police force, etc. It's a great question. Certainly an area we want to improve in. Here's another question. It is really beautiful to see so many different faiths united here in discussion. What are the next steps to take beyond just a discussion and conversations? How can we come together for action steps? I know that coming together in person is challenging at this time, but I feel that when there is determination, we can overcome obstacles. What would it take to have multicultural gatherings? We could share cultural stories, food, and break down barriers by learning about one another. Coming together in joy rather than in response to hate would be a powerful message to our youth. And I think if I put my Evesham resident hat on for a second there, that is something that I think despite COVID, as Mayor Veasy mentioned, that there have been increasing opportunities for those kinds of gatherings. And I think for me, I reflect on that, to that question and say, maybe I need to do a better job of getting that information out there, because it is happening more and more, and we want to make sure that people are aware of it, and solicit additional ideas. And then here's another question: why are we as Jews being attacked so much? Why do people hate us? Will it ever stop? Thank you. So that's, I think, I'm just gonna, it's hard to, I'm gonna read another, I'm gonna read each of the submissions just because there aren't many more, and I don't want to leave any out. I think that's important. Not a question, a huge thank you to the panel and those who worked on this program. It always is reassuring when we can see our leaders united against hate. Another one, thank you all for sharing your important sentiments tonight. Would you agree that it is hateful to call someone a racist or accuse someone of racism simply because someone disagrees with a political and/or policy position? Another comment: that othering that people refer to is a direct result of things like education being white-centric. So what actual things are we putting in place to address that? Because everyone knows not to hate, everyone, but the issue is that people are not being taught from a young age to see the world through a diverse lens. They're not being taught that someone who doesn't fit the traditionally accepted norm should also be considered and included. So what is being done to address that? Why is it so difficult for our government, both political parties, to outright condemn hate? I feel like if our government could be more firm about condemning hate, there might be less of it. And then even as I've been talking, there's more coming in, which I think just speaks to, again, like the appetite and the urgency for further conversation. Children learn so much from what they hear and see in their homes, and obviously a school can only do so much. However, education is key, and the schools may be the only place that children learn about diversity and how to combat hate. What can the schools do specifically to take this problem head on? Because hate will always rear its ugly head. Kids look up to their teachers, so they definitely have a role to play. Education is key, just as Father Wallace is speaking about right now. And we're now at 8:05, so we'll end there, but I just would use the last comment there as an opportunity to thank all the staff from ETSD, as well as the families who tuned in tonight, and thinking about the power of a teacher, the power of individual conversations, individual connections, and just that line about how kids look up to their teachers and the role that each of us has to play. So I thank and grateful for the time and care that everyone took tonight in attending this discussion. It has been recorded, and we will be sharing out a link to it so everyone who couldn't make it tonight can view it, and we can have it as a resource for further work. On that note, just given the time, I'm going to say that we are at the end of our time together this evening, and thank so much our Jewish Community Relations Council of Southern New Jersey for their time in making this event possible. The pandemic has heightened our fragility and also our strength and our interconnectedness that came through the questions as well. Blessings to all of us, our students, families, members of our communities gathered for this time together, one larger community together. Thanks to everyone for joining us, and I hope that the comments that we shared tonight will help you and help all of us continue conversations about combating hate in our schools and communities. Good night, everyone.